meanwhile, I was also fighting with my various servicers for my student loans. I had a mix of public and private. I would cry on the phone and ask, like, can I just have one person to talk to? Like, look, we're in a long-term relationship. I should just be able to call you up and be like, I'm having an issue this month. I'm going to be like a few weeks late, but like, we're together for a long time. Like, it just shouldn't be whatever random person picks up on the phone from a call center, wherever. But LOL. And things started getting bad because I would call them and they would say, the prompt screen would be like, push 4 if you're from a congressional office. And I'm like, oh, things are getting really bad if they just have a button for Congress people when they're calling on behalf of their constituents. So that was a sign something was wrong. But also, people don't talk about especially back in 2010, that was pre-Occupy. That was just pre a lot of things that are happening and still in the shadow of the economic crisis from 2008. Yeah. But my boss invited me to go to an early morning meeting at 8 a.m. at the AFL-CIO in DC. And I was with him, and I was the youngest one around the table because this was, 12 years ago and I was still young. As opposed to now where I like to wear like big hats and like walk through gardens and all the things when you're no longer young. And there was the main speaker for this like early morning meeting asked people to raise their hand if they had student loan debt. I kind of went like this. I was the only one that raised my hand because I was the youngest. And he goes, well, how much debt do you have? And I was like, because I'm sitting next to my boss, all these other executive directors, people in DC can be a little judgy on things.
Oh, hold on a second. Let's just put a pin in that moment just to make clear what people someone asked you how much debt you have, and you're in front of people you work with and you're supposed to say, I have this many dollars in debt. So it's a super weird question. It totally inappropriate, but get, to the point. Therein lies the shame, especially if you're in front of colleagues. But okay, take us back. Sorry.
Yeah. So I just said, I'm not telling. It's just like, look, I'm not telling. And he goes, well, as long as you're ashamed of your debt, the banks have all the power. And that was the first time in my life I had someone tell me that it wasn't my fault. I had student loan debt. Like in college, my peers would be like, ew, you have student loan debt, or ew, you're going into a lot of debt, or ew, that's going to be really hard to pay off, or like, do you understand how interest formulas work? But here was someone telling me that the problem wasn't me. It wasn't me failing. It wasn't my family failing. It was a structural problem. And then he asked me again how much debt I have. And I said half the amount because like, for real, like talking about that in public is really hard. And so the person who embarrassed me in front of my boss and all these people and then moved me to action, you might have heard of him, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. So he's a really good organizer.
Oh, wow. Interesting.